So, welcome to another edition of the Cultivating Tradition Podcast. I'm really happy to be here with two quite significant figures in the development of acupuncture and Chinese medicine in the UK, Angie and John Hicks. Angie and John are probably most famous for starting the College of Integrated Chinese Medicine in the UK, one of the main accredited colleges where you can study acupuncture. And what I really wanted to talk about today is really to have the listeners understand your key vision and inspirations through your life and what drove you and the things that you really wanted to achieve in acupuncture. So, Angie, well, maybe I can start with you. What are some of the things that really drove you and things that inspired you along the way?
Okay, so I started off as a student orthopedic nurse. So I did nursing for a bit and I did a training, and I knew that I never wanted to do it again. But I did want to do something that was helping people. It was a time when acupuncture was not very well known, and I was meditating, and being a meditator, my interests were kind of in the area of things that were what would be called alternative, I guess. And I actually ended up living in, this all sounds a bit strange, in a house where people who were interested in fringe medicine were together, and we all kind of got to know different things. And from then I thought acupuncture is the one I wanted to do, but I knew very little about what I was going into. It was the early 1970s. And I just see myself as lucky, incredibly lucky, that I chose the right thing. So initially, I wanted to help people. Then I went into fringe. Then I went into wanting to help a person. And from then I studied acupuncture, and it was really just doing my best to do things to be a helpful person, but there was always that element of wanting to help the whole person rather than kind of do things that were separate.
So what years are we talking about here?
Well, I started as a nurse in the late 1960s, 1969, and then I started learning acupuncture in 1972. And I qualified in 1973, I guess, and I qualified in 1976. And
am I right that you studied under both ICOM, Van Buren and J.R. Wesley?
Yeah, my very first training was at ICOM, and then I moved to train with J.R. Wesley.
One thing that people may not know, in the 70s, it was two main colleges, wasn't it, in the UK?
There was three, actually.
Okay.
There was the Acupuncture Association, which was only for people who had done a medical training, but it was very much there. And then there was ICOM and the College of Traditional Acupuncture, J.R. Wesley's college. And that was it, really, yes, at that time. And there was no TCM in the country. That came along with Ted Capture coming along in 1978, I think it was.
Right. Yeah. And then you have Mathieu and...
Giovanni was around all that time. Yes. Yeah.
You were saying that he was assisting at ICOM, is that right?
He was assisting Van Buren at the college, which was at Gerrard's Cross at the time. Yeah. So it's all very different at that time.
How about you, John? What brought you into the acupuncture originally?
Well, it seems much simpler. I had acupuncture with my daughter, who had all sorts of physical problems, and we both benefited. So immediately I was curious, like, well, could I do this? And then I had a Tai Chi partner where I used to meet every morning and do Tai Chi. And he said to me, I've got a phone number for you. And it was the phone number for Worsley's intensive courses.
Oh, wow.
Like the ones where people came from the States to study with him. And I checked in, got a place on the course, and it just kind of happened. And people said to me, "What in the world are you doing?" People, friends, and I said, "Well, I'm becoming an acupuncturist." And they say, "What's that?" And I remember telling my mother, and she said, "What's that?" And she was a bit embarrassed by me, I think. But anyway, it was a very short course, and I immediately went to work at what's called the Oxford Acupuncture Clinic, which was in a small place outside Oxford. And I never looked back. I worked with 5, 6 other people, so it was a community right away, and it just seemed natural, smooth.
I think for this generation, people who are beginning their study now, they might not remember a time when it was weird to study acupuncture.
Yes.
It's not so weird anymore, is it? It's become much more of an accepted thing to study.
I never thought of it as weird.
I mean, other people thinking it was weird, not you, John.
No. And that's perhaps a little weird in itself.
Yeah.
But my background had been Tai Chi, philosophy, so I usually had a pretty good internal sense that this is right for me. And it was absolutely spot on.
And it feels like that internal sense has traveled with you through your career.
It's flourished,
Yeah.
I had many friends say to me, "What in the world are you doing?" But I was absolutely right in the sense that it satisfied something quite important in me about helping other people and understanding how things work. Yeah.
Just say a little bit more from my point of view doing it. I think I was at that time quite, I don't think I was quite anxious and things like that. And treatment itself made a massive difference to me. So it wasn't just, when I first went into acupuncture, like John, I didn't know what I was going into. But actually having acupuncture treatment made huge differences to me personally. So that drove me to just feeling like this was, I knew that I wouldn't have got that kind of help anywhere else. A lot of my family had been bipolar, and so there was that kind of almost hung over me. And I knew I wanted to find a way to avoid that and stay healthy. And acupuncture just made such a massive difference to me. And I've never been bipolar or anything like that, and I've been fine. But it was the kind of, this is too close around me. My mother, her sister, her father, my brother, kind of, it was too much to kind of, I couldn't avoid it.
So you were speaking about why you wanted to study acupuncture in the first place, but what was the experience studying acupuncture, and why did you later want to set up your own college? Maybe John, you can answer first.
Well, studying acupuncture, because I was on such a brief course, seemed easy. I mean, it was 5 weeks and a break, and then another 5 weeks in the clinic, and I was qualified.
It's not a good sign, is it? Sorry. Sorry, I've just ruined the whole thing.
It's funny.
And I was in practice, and practice was, I worked with 5 other people. We were busy, we reinforced each other, because we spent our time discussing patients and acupuncture, and we were really busy. The farmer clinic where I was had a waiting list at one time of 12 months, and that just meant that once a patient had got better and you wanted a new patient, we just specified, and the next time there'd be a new patient in there. And we worked in a clinic with no doors or just curtains on the cubicles. So there would be 6 people, as it were, in one room. And sometimes conversations drifted over, and the patients would chit-chat with each other while they were being treated. It was just a lot of fun, as well as being the most satisfying thing I'd done in my life at that time. So it was like a lot of my friends said to me, "What are you doing? What's acupuncture?" And I'd try and explain, but it didn't matter. It just seemed absolutely straightforward, normal, and the right thing to do. I was lucky.
And later on in your career, you decided to set up the College of Integrated Chinese Medicine. What was your inspiration behind that?
Well, the first thing I did was I used to watch Worsley as to how he interacted with people. And my NLP background was that I was a modeler, that is, modeled how people do things. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And that's what I then created what was called the skills course, which was I thought were the basic skills that allowed you to interact with somebody to get their constitutional type. And so that was a really important thing for me. And that was my NLP background of how to model somebody's skill so that you could take it on.
And so there are ways that you can elicit the information from the patient so you can get a more accurate diagnosis.
Yeah, like to find out whether fear is the most important emotion in this person or whether it's joy is a different interaction. But if you begin to get skilled at that, which Worsley was, if you begin to get skilled at that, then you get the constitutional type and you know how to start treatment.
That's very interesting. It reminds me, this is a bit of a funny example, but when I was observing a very experienced practitioner in Taiwan, at one point they got up, they walked into the treatment room where all the patients were, and he went round and insulted every single patient in the room, and then walked back out again, and everyone was like, what just happened? And later on, he actually told me that he was running out of time and he just had to find a quick way to get the responses to people so he could make the diagnoses. I know it's probably not exactly your technique, John, but I just thought it reminded me, the idea of actually refining the ways to actually get the right information from patients is a very natural idea.
I really relate to that because Worsley had devised ways of interacting. I don't think he was that conscious of them all, but I had a chance to observe him and watch him and so on. And that was a gift that I only later began to appreciate.
I think there's something that's so special about Chinese medicine that when different minds learn it, we can pick out different things, we can refine them, and then when we teach them, we are enabling, in many ways Chinese medicine enables you to see, doesn't it? It enables you to notice and to see the world around you. And it sounds like what you were doing is a refinement of that.
Well, I had a background in NLP. I'd gone through the various stages, and that's about modeling somebody else's skill. So I was primed to model what Worsley did and how he did it. It just seemed like a natural thing, a gift, as it were.
I haven't been taught by you, but I've read some of your books. It's a whole new window on what we do, and it's been an inspiration for me. So, I think that we have generations who've been able to benefit from that insight.
That feels good.
Good. And Angie, what about you? So, what was your inspiration in the college and what you wanted to bring forth?
Well, we were just to say that we met in London, and then I moved to the same practice in Farmore Clinic. So I was kind of amongst the practitioners there, and so we were together in a relationship by that time. And worked at JL's College in Leamington, and I really enjoyed teaching, and that was kind of part of it, and being in the group. And at a certain point, I felt that I knew this area to do with 5 elements really well, but I wanted to learn TCM, and I wanted to learn a few other things. And so I guess that's when I went to learn TCM and learnt a little bit in China as well. And at that point it was like, well, why aren't we doing these together? You know, so that was, we began to teach people who did 5-element acupuncture, TCM. And so we had a TCM course, and then we had a clinical integration course where they could combine the two. So we spent a lot of our time working on that and being able to bring them together. So that was kind of like the pieces were in place to be starting something new. So that was, I can remember when we decided to set up the college, we were at a Qigong course in Ireland. I don't know why we decided to set it up then, but we did. And
I think you can get inspiration on Qigong courses. With
yes,
all
maybe
that energy,
that's it. And there are a lot of the people who we taught integration to who were on that course.
Oh, interesting.
And so a lot of people were saying, we'd like to join you. And so kind of, I remember talking that we wanted to do the college, and people saying they wanted to join us. And probably by the end of that time in Ireland, we hadn't decided how to do it, but we knew that that's what we were going to do. So that was kind of the inspiration from my point of view. And then we set about putting the college together, which was, we were teaching, then when we put the college together, we set up a teacher training course, and for the next year, we taught the teachers how to teach, kind of thing. Well, everybody had to kind of come along and do a presentation, and the other people who were the future staff members were saying in feedback sandwiches, positive, then anything that could change, and then another positive, how that person did. And so we were kind of learning from each other's teaching at that point as well. So that was...
And I think this is a key point, is that what it takes to set up a college and make it successful, it takes an enormous amount. And coming in to the British Acupuncture Council, being driven to come in because I appreciate what's being done and I want to help it continue, I have enormous thanks and respect to the colleges that have taken the responsibility, the people who have taken the responsibility to set up colleges, to keep them going, to provide the best service for students, because it's not just having the best knowledge. Teaching is an entire art in itself. Managing the finances of a college, managing all of the bureaucracy, adhering to all of the different standards that you have to. It's something that I think that we should all feel incredibly appreciative for in the community, I think.
Yeah.
There was a big moment in the formation of CICM in the sense that we initially signed a lease on 19 Castle Street. And one day the building next door vacated. There was no cars in the car park and so on. And the penny dropped to buy the whole thing. And we had the finances built up and so on. That's when it became secure. We owned the building. And that was, to me, a really important moment. And that was my business background. I thought, nobody can take this away from us now. I don't know how this sounds, but it's funny that when
something is ready to happen. It's not that you find the place finds you. You know, I've seen that happen in so many cases. And when you're not ready, you don't find the right place. But it's
You're right.
that place is such a special significance for so many generations of people. Yeah.
I've kind of got a thing that the doors open or the doors close.
Yeah.
And I always felt it was very purposeful for both of us to be doing the college together.
Yeah.
And we both had that kind of burning purpose, wanting to do it. And I mean, you were talking about when we got the college, because I think that was a big doors opening. And even getting the building when we were going to rent it, at first it belonged to Eagle Star. And they didn't want us there particularly, because we were a bit different, I think. And then one day, it all happened. And it was kind of there were so many doors opening.
Yeah.
It was like, this college is going to... I never, ever... People say sometimes, did you doubt that it would happen? Did you think it might not be viable? Never had any doubts that this was going to run and be a good college and it was going to thrive. It was just going to, you know, we could see that this was what people needed and wanted and at that time. So
I think and it's not just a doorway opening for, you know, your project. It's a doorway opening for, is it how many thousands of students that have been?
Yeah, we have 2 intakes a year, and when we retired, we'd been doing it for 30 years, and it's a lot more than that now. So that's a lot of graduates, really. Yes, which is a lovely feeling that we've got so many graduates around.
So this is my next question. What advice would you have for someone who's graduating in acupuncture now, or even thinking of studying acupuncture, but start with people who are graduating now?
Yes.
Yes, for the ones who want to study. But if there's someone who's graduating now, say from CICM or another college, what tips would you give them for their career?
That question kind of stops me, because it's never been an issue. People seem to have gone out and built practices. It's like, is there a limited need for acupuncture? I don't think so. So I don't know where the limit or what kind of advice you'd have to succeed. Just get a place and start practicing.
Just to say one thing, and that is that the final 6 months of the course is what we call pre-qualifying practice. You might know about it. And it does mean that people can go out on their own and treat patients, but they're sending everything to us. But they learn how to be an independent practitioner, but still be at the college. So they're still coming every week, and I think that's kind of key to people starting their practices. But I'd also say a few things, like I'd say concentrate on changing lives, not on changing symptoms, because you want to change the cause and what's beyond the symptoms. So I think changing lives is a biggie in terms of advice. And also I kind of say, don't do it for, it's not all about money. We never teach people that they're going to make lots of money or anything. In fact, we never talk about money much. They do a session on accounts in the 3rd year, but all of the emphasis that we put on the training is all about how they can help their patients, how fulfilling it is, what a privilege it is to do acupuncture and have people open up and have that conversation with people. And I think that's what has always driven us in terms of doing acupuncture, and I don't think people are attracted to a place that talks about making money. It's attracted to something that is going to be helping them to evolve and help their patients to evolve as better. better people, healthier people.
I think that it's one thing that is difficult to summarize in a soundbite, that acupuncture changes lives, or that the whole framework that we engage with, even from the moment a patient walks into our clinics and goes through the whole process of a consultation and the processes that they go through to become aware of their own health in a different way, to have their every part of their conscious existence affirmed and heard, being brought into the awareness, and then going through the process of the treatment. You can't really sum it up in the word acupuncture, can you? There's so much that goes into what we do that is life transforming, and it's really important for people to know that.
Yeah, very much so.
So you just said it.
Well, I'm very honoured to have it affirmed from you, John. That really brings us on neatly to a question I want to ask you, something we've been discussing, we think is quite important to us, of how we pass on the torch to the next generation. CICM is a great achievement. Many students have come through and graduated and now successful practitioners. But there's a question of how we pass that on to the next generation, how we hold this success, and how we pass on the ability for new people to come through and study. And the British Acupuncture Council has played a key role in that. In fact, it was formed out of 5 bodies to begin with. It was formed out of people coming together thinking it's really important that we have a plan for the future and we come together. And you were both instrumental in the process. So I just wondered what your thoughts are on how we pass things on to the next generation, and how the British Acupuncture Council has played a role in that.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say you're doing a brilliant job with that, in that role as CEO. This isn't scripted, by the way. but I really think that you're bringing people together in a really good way. And so I do want to say thank you for coming in to lead the BAcC. I think it's fantastic. In terms of there being a BAcC, I am so grateful for there being a BAcC, because it provides all the support in so many different ways that people need. It's both a regulatory body for the acupuncturists, but it's also a body for the patients. That's a difficult one to deal with. It provides support when people need it. It's got the BAAB, which is the accreditation, British Acupuncture Accreditation Board, which is all about keeping our standards high. It's got an ethics committee. It's got lots of different committees to it. It's got everything there, and all of those parts of it. You can't have a professional body unless you've got all of that. So I don't know what else to say other than that for myself.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you is that I think that there's an important lesson that we all have to learn some point in our development, that even though we might have differences of opinion, we do have to find some common ground and come together into one community, because if we're fractured into multiple communities, then we simply, not only can we not achieve what we need to achieve for ourselves in our own individual practices, but traditional acupuncture itself won't get a voice. No,
stronger together. That's I mean, I do really believe that I used to be a part of the Council for Heads of Acupuncture Colleges, and we used to meet every 3 months. And I got close to people that were coming to those meetings. There was a lot of really good feelings, a lot of working together. And those meetings were so important. We could we shared the things we could share together as well, and I think that sense of being really much stronger when we worked together became very clear to me at that time, and I always want that to continue. I think it will as well.
And that legacy has come through to today, because now I'm working with the modern iteration of BAcC.
Sure, yes.
And all those college heads, and that same spirit is there.
I know it is.
And
yeah.
I think that it's really important to hear from both of you, because from what I hear, it wasn't easy to find a way to find that consensus to begin with.
When I first joined, there had to be, believe it or not, somebody who was actually a herbalist, who was the outside person who made sure everything was okay between all the people there. By the time I got there, it always was.
Yeah.
But it was like, why would that be needed?
Yeah.
Because it was very different. There were people who had very big differences of opinion at one time. Don't see that now at all. It's very much changed, and long may it stay that way.
And I think that's one thing that pulled me into this role in the first place, is that I want to see that continue, and I want to see that I understand what an achievement that is.
Yes.
And we need to try and find a way to respect each other's differences, enable each other to practice and study and learn in the ways that make sense to each of us. But at the same time come around a common standard so that we can project ourselves out in a unified way.
Yeah.
John, do you have any particular memories or thoughts of what it was like to interact and work with the other colleges and at the initial stages of the British Acupuncture Council?
I was on the DAS committee, wasn't I?
Yeah, it was probably the beginning of the BAAB as well.
And I remember being on a committee with Giovanni and a lady from the RTCM who was very critical and very harsh. And somehow that process really worked. I don't know what the issue is now, and I would be the wrong person to even think about it and consult about it, because I have so much beliefs about things built into me. Somebody else is going to guide it, and I mean, you're a stimulus for that, and I think that's...
Well,
keep digging and keep looking.
I mean, just as I think the doors opened up for you and your college, there are opportunities opening up now. So I think there's an enormous opportunity happening now for us to come together and develop a vision. Acupuncture has never been more accepted than it has been today.
I think you're right. Yes, I think that's absolutely right. We do Myers-Briggs on our students, and when we first started, there's a certain type of student that is what we call an intuitive feeler, and I would say, don't know quite the percentage, but about 90% of the students belong to that.
Oh, really?
Yes, wow. Which is, and they were all intuitors, basically, and sometimes intuitive thinkers. And we've tested every single class who's gone through the college. Now it's much more a range. There's still a lot of intuitive feelers, but there's a lot of other people from all sorts of different Myers-Briggs combinations. That says that acupuncture is acceptable. Sounds a bit silly, but it was because it was people who had the type of people who are more sensors like to know something is acceptable, and they now join the college. It's kind of interesting looking at that.
We're definitely attracting a wider range of people, which enriches our community as well.
Massively.
Because you get different types of thinkers.
Yes.
You get a much richer expression of the medicine. Right?
Very much so, yes. And I mean, when I first started, if I said I was an acupuncturist, same as John was saying, people would say, well, what's that? And I didn't even grow up with acupuncture being around. It was only in my teens that I'd ever heard of it. But now everybody knows what acupuncture is. That's a big
And
difference.
importantly, that means more acupuncture is going to get out to people who need it.
Of course.
And I think that's why we're all in it in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And that's what drives us. So I think that's a nice optimistic note to end on things. So thank you very much for participating
Thank you.
in this conversation. I think it's really important for not only our members, but for the public to hear from these voices from the development of how acupuncture has grown in the West. I'm very happy to say that Angie will be joining us for our joint BAcC CEO CICM conference in June, which on a very interesting topic of spirals, which we've had some nice discussions about. So if you haven't already,
And I think,
please.
John, you're going to come too he'll come with me.
Fantastic,
Yeah,
fantastic.
to the conference,
Well, you'll be
yeah.
extremely
I think
welcome, John. And so if you haven't already, you can pick up some tickets from our conference website. But with that, I hope to see you at another edition of the Cultivating Tradition podcast.